What's up, everybody? This is the Tied to the Land podcast, where we believe that everybody is tied to the land in some way, shape, or form. On this podcast, we'll explore the intimate connection that people feel with the land beneath their feet, while telling the stories of folks whose lives have been impacted by their roots to the rural lifestyle. This podcast is brought to you by Arrowhead Land Company, where their mission is to create, inspire, or advance a connection to the land in every person throughout the world. What's going on, everybody? My name's Andrew Schultz. This is the Tied to the Land podcast, and today we have a very special guest, somebody I've been looking forward to interviewing for quite a while here, Jennifer Janet, coming at us from Missouri, or better known as Missouri to some folks. What is the demographic of people that say Missouri as opposed to Missouri? Can you?
I've never heard anyone refer to it as Missouri.
Really?
So I'm going to say you're one in forever the amount of people I've ever spoken to. Yeah.
I feel like the more country you are, the more likely you are to say Missouri. Like it's usually like some good old boy that says, yeah, over there in Missouri.
Maybe I just haven't experienced that part of the state yet.
Maybe I'm just totally off basis, but I know I've heard Missouri before. So anyway, thanks for coming on today. Really excited. We've got a lot of good things to talk about. But why don't you give everybody just a quick introduction to who you are and why we're here talking today, and then we'll get into all the good stuff, all the meat and potatoes here in a second.
Yeah, I'm Jennifer Janet. As Andrew said, I'm from Missouri, and I have been selling real estate for almost 24 years now. And I just I obviously love it. I'm passionate about it. And Andrew and I met several years ago when we were working on our ALC designation. And we've become good friends and just really look up to him for a lot of advice and help too as I've been transitioning out of residential into land.
Awesome. Right on. So the ALC designation, you heard her reference that. That's accredited land consultant. And I'm pretty certain we've talked about it on this podcast before, but that's offered by the Realtors Land Institute. And we always like to say it's kind of like having your doctorate in land sales, right? Or having a master's in land sales. There's certain qualifications you have to meet as far as sales performance, but more importantly, there's a huge curriculum of education that you have to go through in order to earn this designation. And I don't know off the top of my head, but there's very few land brokers across the country that have this designation overall. I think it was like around 800 last time I looked. Maybe there's more now.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact number. There aren't many compared to the number of, licensed real estate agents that there are practicing land, maybe 864 or something in that nature.
Yeah. So super, super amazing thing that the Realtors Land Institute does, trying to further the education of land brokers across the country. And that's how Jennifer and I connected. And for those of you who may be in this business and you're thinking about, do I get into RLI? Do I not? What would that do for my business? What would you say to those folks, Jennifer?
I think you should definitely explore the Realtors Land Institute. There are so many resources available to you to expand your business if you're wanting to just practice in a specific niche. They have a lot of different educational opportunities. Most importantly, it's the networking. So many deals get made between realtors who are members, and it just adds a layer of exposure to your seller clients, and then also just increases your knowledge when you're helping buyers as well.
Yeah. Iron sharpens iron is what I was trying to say there. So it's definitely one of those types of organizations. But quick plug for them. Let's get into it. Jennifer, so you were born and raised in a farming family. Is that right?
Yes.
And now, and do they call it farming or ranching or both?
Farming. Yeah.
Farming. Even with cattle, it's still farming?
Yeah.
Okay. So
ranches, I feel like, are big places, in Colorado or somewhere more out west. So we just still refer to it as farming.
I think it's interesting how the definition of a ranch has changed as the consumer buying the ranches, as that demographic has changed. So like we hear, I live on a ranch. Well, how big is it? Oh, it's 10 acres. Okay. And then somebody else says, yeah, I ranch. I'm like, okay, well, what's your ranch like? Oh, we've got about 3,200 acres. I'm like, all right. The definition of a ranch has really changed over time. But so y'all farm, and you grew up in a farming family. Tell us about that.
So I was my dad's sidekick. We had hogs and cattle, and I spent as much time with him as I could outside, helping him. I mean, honestly, I knew all of the contacts better than my mom even did because I went with him when we hauled and sold our livestock. I would have to tell my mom where we needed to feed, how we needed to feed, how much we needed to feed when my dad was gone or down and couldn't get out there to do those chores. So I was like his best friend. He was my best friend. You know, we just spent all of our time together from, I think, as long as as early as I could walk till forever. So we still work together today. So it's just a special bond that we have.
That's awesome. And you have siblings, right?
I do. I have two sisters. I was the oldest. My middle sister, she was inside with my mom, didn't want to do anything outside. My youngest sister, more similar to me, you know, we were outside all the time. Actually, she fell in the hog pit when we were kids. And we were told, don't tell mom, because that was obviously quite a mess.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were always out there with dad.
That's awesome. So you were the oldest, I'm sure. I'm the oldest also, and us oldest children have to stick together because we're, a little less privileged, but a little more responsible and put together, I'd like to say, in most cases. So I'm not surprised to hear that you were out there helping dad, but did you and your dad ever have conversations, like, especially now for me having a daughter, like, was it different for him? Like, did he expect to ever have sons? Did he ever treat you any differently? Like, I mean, obviously you've grown up, I say grown up, you've grown to be very successful in everything you do, whether that's real estate, you guys farm, or ranch, depending on what you call it as well. I mean, like, did your dad ever treat you differently, or did he ever give you any inclination that, how do I say it? He wished that he would have had a son at some point? Just curious.
No, never once. But I'm his favorite.
Yeah.
No, never made me feel like that. Now, did I probably want to be a tomboy? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried to run around without a shirt on, all the things, dress like dad. But no, never did he once, indicate that he wished I would have been a boy or any of us would have been, a boy. Even playing college football. I mean, he was very athletic and into sports. I'm sure he would have loved to have had someone, fall into those steps, and those shoes. But I gave him two grandsons. So I had the first two boys of the family. So he definitely loves living through all of our children and his grandchildren. Very proud of all of us. I don't think he would trade us for anything.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. That's really awesome. And I guess the reason I ask that question, again, other than my own selfish desires of, like, I had a daughter first, and I'm curious, like, what that dynamic was like. I just wonder how it shaped you. Like, looking back on it, have you ever reflected on it? Like, had he, instead of exposing you to those types of things, said, "Hey, Jennifer, why don't you run along and play with dolls, or, go put makeup on your sisters?" Or, and again, I don't mean to sound sexist, but, like, some people put their kids in that box, in that bubble. So, like, have you ever reflected on how those childhood experiences shaped the trajectory of your life?
Not really, but it is a really great point. Kind of made me teary-eyed, to be honest with you. I'm thankful that he didn't do that, right? I mean, I feel like my parents really allowed us to be whoever we were. Yeah. So they never force-placed anything on us, so to speak. I mean, obviously they wanted us to do well and make good choices, like all parents do. But no, they've never. I mean, I did quit basketball in high school, and I will say he was disappointed in me. And, I still have the letter he wrote me about that. And, but we never really talked about it. I knew that I disappointed him. And I think that's probably a little bit of a difference in maybe society today, where there was a level of, I don't want to say respect, but just like love and obedience, that we wanted to be sure that our parents were pleased with our actions and we weren't disappointing them. And I don't know that that's always the case these days. I think that I probably learned a lot that I take for granted that I don't even realize that I know. And it just comes naturally to me. So I'm thankful for that, obviously. And then since we have a cow-calf operation, so we put a lot of that into practice, just my knowledge and just things that I'm familiar with. And when he was playing football for the Iowa State University, he was going to be a vet. So he helps us sometimes too. We call him up like, hey, Dad, we're doing this today. Like, can you come up here? Oh my gosh, I've got this situation. Or we have to go out and find a calf at dark, and him and I are bottle feeding it or trying to get it up, things like that. So it's just been an ongoing, just really close relationship that I'm thankful for.
That's cool. Real quick, and then we'll move on from that. Why did you quit basketball, and what did he say to you in the letter, if you can reveal that?
Well, I quit because, I always knew better, right? But no, all in honesty, my coach was a yeller, and this is going to sound really corny and maybe a little soft, but my parents didn't yell. Like, we got in trouble, obviously. They spanked our butts, got grounded, whatever. But I'm not motivated by being yelled and screamed at. And playing varsity as a freshman, there's just a lot of other dynamics. And I liked basketball, loved it. I'm going to be honest, it was just a coach in that environment that just didn't work for me. Do I regret that? Sometimes, but I feel like that decision probably catapulted me into where I was today, because had I continued to play, what if I would have played in college ball? I would have never got into real estate when I did, and it probably would have never even crossed my mind. So I just think that decision, good, bad, or indifferent, is where I am today.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge believer in that. Like, the whole God has a plan thing. It is so true when you start looking back on all the various chapters of your life and how one decision led you down a totally different path, and then another decision took you in a different direction. And I love that. I love that you can equate to quitting high school basketball to some degree part of the reason you went down the path of real estate. And like, you definitely probably did not realize that at the time, but looking back on it, you've got that wisdom and insight. So I like that. So how's life on the ranch in Missouri? What's it like raising your two boys in that atmosphere? Do they enjoy it the same way? You and Nick as your husband, the way that you guys enjoy it. What's it like raising a family in the outdoors?
It's complicated, right? Because our kids are busy. So they play sports, and every sport, and travel sports. So our time is really limited in some seasons, but they are outdoors. Like, so this weekend, Alex's birthday is today. We had his friends over, and they did a scavenger hunt on our farm. So we had them outside, for 2 hours playing, building huts, cutting down branches and things. So that's fun. Like, those kids love awesome. That, especially some that don't have that opportunity. He's riding his four-wheeler, they're riding the side-by-side through the woods. They're hunting, of course. We're splitting firewood, which they absolutely love, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Despite what they say and all their grumblings, they love it. They love, just spending time outdoors, no matter what we're doing. Then we have, we're teaching them responsibilities with the livestock. So, of course, it started small when they were younger, opening gates, cutting the netting off, helping fill feed buckets. Now, they can just about go out on their own and do all of that. They help us round them up, load them, vaccines, all the things, you know. So there's a wide range that I feel like are exposed to that other kids aren't. And I hope it helps shape them into who they become in the future, and just, that things come naturally and that they have a lot of opportunities. And I know that they all love the land. They're trying to pick out the places they're going to build their houses. And I'm trying to tell them that their wives are going to dictate that. that is great. I love to hear it. But, at the end of the day, she has to love us, and she has to love it too, because otherwise you're not going to be here.
So y'all are thinking about going the route of like a family compound, kind of keeping the family close there.
They are. Yeah, they are. They're fighting over a site. First, when they were much younger, it was, we're going to have a sidewalk right out of the house to ours. And I laughed. I'm like, well, I don't know that your wife would like that either. But now we're down the road, on a different patch, and they've got 10 or 15 acres picked out. So we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously that would be any parent's dream, is to have their families close by, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I think that says a lot about the dynamic of your family, that the boys, you have both teenagers at this point, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But two teenage boys that are saying, yeah, Mom and Dad, we want to live next to you and we want to stay nearby you. I think that speaks a lot to your parenting and you've got two fine young boys that you're raising up to be good young men. And I think there's no better way to do it than the way you're doing it, which is in the outdoors, teaching them about livestock and hunting and the land. And I love that they're exposing their friends to that environment also, because I think that every child, whether it's high school age, teenager, whatever it is, I think they should get to experience that at least once. And I'm a huge advocate for bringing people who are not exposed to the outdoors into the outdoors and showing them the lifestyle that we enjoy so much. So,
yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've been in the real estate business for 20, what did you say? 20 something?
Almost 24 years.
24
just a few months
years.
shy.
Oh
yeah.
boy. Been a long time. So let's pick back up with, you got into real estate somehow as a result of quitting high school basketball, or partly indirectly related to that. So let's pick it up there. How old were you? What made you decide to go that route? Did you just happen to fall into it? What was that all about?
Yeah, so my dad and grandfather did a lot of rehab work on houses and flipped those. Then we had some land. They had a packing house, our meat house. So they had some land that was around that I helped them develop into duplexes when I was a little bit older in college. And then they had also developed a subdivision here locally. So they built the homes and sold them. And I, just the finishes and things of that nature, clean them up. So real estate's always just been in our family. And when I was in college, I didn't want to waitress anymore just because it was difficult to juggle schoolwork, and I commuted. So that was, an extra factor there. So my dad and mom were like, you're going to have to get a job. Here's a list of people. Open the phone book and start calling. So I called a real estate agent, and they hired me as their secretary. So I helped kind of revamp their office, because it was an older woman that had been working there for many years. This was before MLS or any of that was available, barely had dial-up internet at that point. So everything was on books and printed and faxed. And then I decided to get my license, and it just kind of took off from there. Bought a brokerage, and here we are.
Okay, so I'm going to make you elaborate on a lot of that. So bought a brokerage.
Okay.
Tell us about that. Obviously, at some point you stopped working for those folks and you decided, hey, I think I can do this on my own. How did you do that? Financially at the time, mentally, did you feel like you had enough experience, or did you just take a leap of faith? What did that look like at that time?
Sure. Yeah. So I was licensed for about 2 years at that point, and I had a pretty good basis of knowledge just from being the office, administrator and all of that. Still had obviously a lot to learn. Every day is something new. So I can't say that I know it all
still
even yet. Yeah. But I had two partners at the time. So for that, we had an SBA loan, a small business administration loan. And after a couple of years, they just didn't want that role anymore. They wanted to just focus on selling. So there is a lot to take care of as a brokerage. You know that, right? We talk about that a lot.
For sure.
And back then, it wasn't even nearly as much as it is today, right? I mean, things have just really transpired over that time frame. So then I just became the sole owner, and we actually bought that brokerage, let's see, 22 years ago this week sometime, I think the 19th. So it was just just kind of jumped in it, didn't know any different, right? How hard could it be, right? That's what everyone thinks.
Yeah, right.
So over time, it's evolved. Over time, I've learned a lot just in managing the brokerage, the services, tools that agents need. I mean, there's just a lot that's changed and constantly changes.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you feel like as a broker owner as well that the people are getting harder to please? When you're seeking other help to come on board your team, it is getting more and more difficult to please those agents in an increasingly competitive landscape, right? And in a society where more is always pushed in everything, you know what I mean? So have you felt some of the weight of that over your years of managing a brokerage?
Yeah, absolutely. So I probably take a different approach than a lot of brokers do. I mean, agents are micromanaging a business inside my business, right? So I'm trying to help them become the best that they can be not just in the real estate sector of their life, but their entire life, right? I mean,
I
because if
love
you're out of
that.
balance, you're not going to be successful. You're not going to be successful at home if you're working too much, if you're not home for your kids or your family, or you're missing engagements with your friends. So it's really a difficult industry to just balance in general. And then we have money coming in, right? And so we're trying to manage businesses and they have expenses and maybe they're not saving and they have taxes, so just trying to help with that. So I've always been a person who is quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people that are on my team, we become really, really close, and I'm here to help. And sometimes we can't help everyone, so that's been a challenge for me, is that I own a lot of people's problems.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn over the last several years, like, you're adults. I can lead you to the water, and I can show you everything that I am doing that has helped me to be successful, but I cannot do it for you. And so that's a challenge. And then, yes, it's so competitive. And there are so many shiny objects. People call us nonstop trying to sell us this or buy leads from here. And it's just overwhelming.
Yeah.
So it's been a challenge over time. It didn't used to be like that, but that's okay, And then you've got big businesses or big brokerages or small brokerages. And I feel like that each individual agent has their own desires too,
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think you're probably in the same boat as me, where it's more of a challenge when you truly genuinely care about the person, and like some of the things you were talking about, like their personal well-being outside of their real estate performance. Like, how's your family life? Are you attending these events that you're supposed to be attending? Are you, pouring into yourself, like outside of just your business? Are you growing spiritually? Those are all things that I care about, and I know that you do too. And there's just more things that can be troublesome, I guess, when you're taking a person and not just looking at their sales performance, but looking at all aspects of their life. And so I think that says a lot about your character, that's, the type of environment you try to have. And, the name of your brokerage in Missouri is 573 Realty.
Realty Group. Mm-hmm.
Did I say it wrong?
573 Realty Group.
Realty Group. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So, talk to us about, because you had a Coldwell Banker franchise before, right? And then
Yes.
at some point you decided, hey, I think I want to start my own thing. What prompted that? What was that like? Was that easier than you thought, harder than you thought? Anything you want to share regarding that transition?
Sure. Yeah. So when we bought the company that was existing, several months later, we transitioned that into the Coldwell Banker franchise, which was fabulous at the time because we were new brokers. They had so many systems and tools that really helped us. So I do not regret that decision for one moment, because I do feel like it helped me to become better. But after 20 years, there was quite a disconnect. So when you're focusing on land and not residential as much, or you're trying to grow that sector, there was just no support. They didn't have a division. And several of us had gotten together and talked with corporate, tried to, give that push to let's get into the land, let's get a division, we'll help get it started. And we just really didn't get anywhere with that. They appeased us for a little while and did a few webinars and things like that. But I felt like I was running two different brokerages, right? Because Coldwell Banker is so residential heavy. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have a land division. So I'm out here trying to make my own materials that, I have to be sure that they were matching their identity standards and their parameters, and yet try to really leverage myself. So that was the struggle. And I was just spending a lot of money, I'm paying them, and then I'm out here trying to market and brand and subscribe to all the sites that I felt were most important and beneficial to my clients. So I don't regret that decision either. I really have loved going back to an independent brokerage and not having all of that control, but yet lack of control that a franchise, obviously has on you if they don't have that land division. So I've been excited, and like I said, don't regret that decision at all to go back to independent. I think it's been a great move for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So then one more transition in your real estate business that I'm happy to get into, and I'm personally super happy about, is that you got brokered in Illinois, and you made the decision that rather than, at least for now, rather than expanding 573 into Illinois, you were going to join forces with Arrowhead Land Company. And so many people who understand the real estate business from the outside looking in may not understand why someone would do that. And so I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that, because I know that's a decision that you wrestled with for a long time. You know, what do I do here? What makes sense? What doesn't? What ultimately led you down that path?
Yeah. So yeah, in March, when I got licensed, I started interviewing brokerages and trying to decide what to do. And I trust you. I've known you for so long, and I've watched you grow your business. Because Arrowhead is relatively new too. So I've watched you over time. We've talked quite a bit, and obviously, having another brokerage in another state is a lot of work and time. And not that I couldn't do it. I mean, I know I physically could and mentally could, but the time constraints, right? So my kiddos being teenagers, I only get them for a little bit longer, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully more, but so that was super important to me. I don't want to have to spend a lot of time and energy with that aspect of things. And I really want to catapult into land. Not that I don't want to sell, a home on 5, 10, 15 acres, but I don't want to be picking up a lot of residential homes in town. And I know you all are awesome at your marketing and your promotions, and you really have that skill set down. Like, it's impeccable. And it's been great. Like, the onboarding, like your whole processes and systems are things that I dreamt about, to have in place in my own brokerage. But we're not as big. And so it just felt like a good natural fit. And again, just going back to the trust that I have with you guys. And I think that I can learn a lot from you and the brokerage as well. And hopefully I can contribute to you and your business as well, and be someone that's an asset.
I appreciate that, because I think we can learn a lot from you. I really feel like one of the most slept on segments in our space, I'll call it the rural real estate space, is the home on 5 acres, 10 acres, the 10-acre lot that's right outside of town that just needs someone to paint the vision, for some folks who are interested in something like that. I really feel like that's where the largest opportunity is, because you do have the Remaxes, the Coldwell Bankers, the Chenoweth and Cohens, like those folks do really well. And I'm just stereotyping, I guess. That's just a few brokerages of many. Like, they do really well in that space. And then you get some land brokers, we'll call them land brokers, who are like, oh, I don't want to mess with a house on 10 acres. And I'm like, dude, you could be doing another $10 million worth of business if you were just willing to expand or pivot your business just a touch to accommodate these types of listings and these types of clients. So I think it's a huge opportunity. And going back to what I was saying earlier, I'm going to lean on you a lot to help us continue to break that mold and to break into that segment of things, because I think it's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, I'm excited because I do feel I've got enough experience and just a different perspective in a way that I'm going to be able to help market and give promotion to people that are wanting to sell their properties. I don't know. I'm just excited that I think I'm going to have a different spin on things, and I'm going to provide services. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do something. So I'm just really excited to get going.
Yeah, well, we're excited too. And that's how we are too. Like, for a while there, our slogan, if you will, was hardworking agents serving hardworking landowners, until every other brokerage that followed us wanted to start talking about how they're also hard workers. And so we pivoted a little bit from that. But the premise of that was, like, we roll up our sleeves and we do what we say we're going to do, and we go the extra mile for our clients. And I feel like that still rings true throughout our brokerage. And, you talked about the staff and the onboarding process. Like, we have an incredible team here. Like, I'm so blessed to be working alongside so many amazing people, because if we can provide a high level of service to our agents, that in turn allows them to provide a high level of service to their clients. And that's what it's about at the end of the day, right? Is pleasing the client. And it sounds silly, but I feel like that gets lost so much in our business. Like, we have too many, not we as in Arrowhead, but the industry as a whole has too many self-serving real estate agents. And it's really about the client. Have you run into that at all?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, especially agents that are not as successful. Sometimes they go through a period where they're very, very hungry,
Mm-hmm.
and they're probably not using their skill set to their maximum potential, and they're
Yeah.
probably not, providing their clients with a lot of opportunities or advice because they just want to get a deal done really quickly and get some money in their pocket.
Yeah, no doubt.
A lot of people say they're going to do something and they don't. I get so frustrated with the number of agents because I'm still hey, I want to talk to you about a property. I want to pick up the phone and ask you some details before I take my clients out here.
Yeah.
And or vice versa, please call me because I want to go over things with you about this property before you step foot on it. And you just can't get agents to return phone calls. Text me. Well, I don't want to text a book. Like I want to be able to describe something to you, So I just feel like the level of connection and communication between agents is even lacking so much in our industry. And that's where I just get really frustrated, but I just try to do better.
Yeah.
And I, try to meet people where they are.
Yeah. Do you think this is going to be a deep question? Do you think it's too easy to get a real estate license? Like, do you think that the bar needs to be higher, or do you think there's certain parameters that need to come along with maintaining a license other than doing your continuing education every 2 years? Like, what's your general opinion on the industry and, people that are licensed that are not answering their phones and they work, 8 to 5 doing something else, and then they're calling you at 9 and 10 o'clock? And I mean, like, what's your opinion on the industry as a whole? Does it need some revamping?
Oh yeah. I mean, from my perspective, I feel like a revamp would be phenomenal. I know things are shifting and I know things are going to continue to change, right? So I try to embrace like where the newer generation is, but I feel like a lot of it, at the heart of it, is the brokerage that they choose and the lack of like either supervision or direction that they get is a huge basis for their performance. And what they don't know, they don't know. So I have a lot of agents that when I'm talking to them, they'll call me with questions. And you have to be careful because you want to help, you want to sell your listing or you want to get the transaction done. But you have to remember, like, I'm representing my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't like really give you specific advice, and you have a broker. So I don't want to step on another broker's toes. Like, you need to talk with them about what you should do or how you should handle that situation. So that just tells me that they're not getting any support or they don't even feel comfortable talking to their broker, which to me is a huge flaw. So I feel like that the brokerage parameters and what they can do to support agents is lacking. A lot of brokers just let them go out. Like, you get your license, hey, go out and sell. You can do it. They may have never even looked at the form before. I don't even know what to fill out or how to fill it out. So I do think there need to be more parameters. I'm just not really sure how the industry as a whole can regulate that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great point. I mean, here I am thinking like big government type of thing, which is not my style usually. And you're like, hey, did you think about the brokerage and like how it comes back to that? And yeah, 100%. It's all about the training and oversight from the brokerage that would help mitigate some of those problems that we're talking about. And sometimes you can't fix lazy and you can't fix, people with other obligations. Like, one of my favorite things that I hear from applicants is like, yeah, I'm going to work my other full-time job full-time, but I'm also going to work real estate full-time. It's going to be like I'll have 2 full-time jobs. And I'm like, dude, there can only be one full-time. Like, you can't spend the full amount of your time on 2 things. That equates to half of your time. And I say that jokingly. We have folks here who juggle other career obligations, and they do it quite well, better than most, but for, I would say 90% of people, it's not an easy thing to do. So
yeah, it's not. Dual careers are difficult no matter what industry you're in. And I truly believe if you're not in real estate, and I say in real estate, I'm, reading some kind of publication, privy to what's going on in your particular marketplace, knowing what's coming back, what difficulties you're having to get, from contract to closing. If you're not in that and you're not exposed to that, I really feel like it's hard to do your clients a lot of justice because you don't have that other bit of information and knowledge. And so it's lacking when we're supposed to be putting their interest in front of ours. And then, yeah, being available, to get that support from your broker, just to have other conversations with other agents. It's hard and it's not impossible. Some agents do have great success at it, but I do feel like there is a definite benefit to someone who is full time and working this consistently and constantly. And I know we all, we're sold the line, flexibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot of flexibility. Do not get me wrong. But it is really difficult to juggle real estate and family and then possibly another career and, any other interest. Like, again, we talked about balance earlier. And that's just really difficult, in my opinion. And if you don't set up boundaries early on, it's hard to be a working mother or father, in this kind of industry.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I feel like that segues perfectly into something I was going to ask you about. What's it been like being a working mother over the years, trying to build a business, trying to be a good wife, a good mom, a good daughter, still make time for your passions and your hobbies and your friends and all that stuff? Like, what has that been like for you to juggle all of that? And let me tell you guys, I've known Jennifer for a while, and this gal has broad shoulders. Like, she is a go-getter. She is the definition of like, take it onto my plate and then figure out how to handle it like as I go, So kudos to you because you are inspirational to me. I look up to you because just you get after it in all aspects of life. So what's it been like for you as a working mom over the years, trying to build a business, trying to overcome self-doubt, trying to be there for your boys, all of it?
It's difficult. Really difficult. And they see a lot of ugly mom a lot of times, where I do have breakdowns, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just need to get this done. Like, please don't ring phone, and that's terrible to say because when you're an entrepreneur, you want your phone to ring. You want people to trust you. And I think that the level of trust I have with my clients is that, like you said, they know I'm going to get it done. Like, I am going to solve the problem and we're going to figure it out. And sometimes I can't take a call, and that hurts me, from my business perspective, because I know those people need something. And at the moment I am tied up and I can't take a call. I did tell myself that I would not be the mom that was going to stand on the sideline the entire game and talk business. Mm-hmm. Like, if I'm going to be there, I need to be present. And there are some exceptions, obviously. If we're in the middle of a counteroffer, we've got something serious going on, I know I'm going to need to step away. But I'm not going to miss my kids' games anymore. And that revelation came several years ago when I'm trying to schedule appointments with clients. They're like, well, I don't really want to miss my kids' soccer practice. I was like, huh? So you want me to miss my kids' game, though? Mm-hmm. So you can watch your kids practice. And, I was just kind of like, that's just not even right.
Yeah.
So we do make sacrifices. My kids know the drill, now. When they were younger, it was a little bit easier for me to get away more frequently because they napped a lot more. They weren't really, is privy to my presence. So now's my go time, I say, as a mom, right? So they're my priority. And I'm pretty upfront with my clients. I set that expectation up. That's been the hardest boundary for me to set because early in my career, I worked 12, 14, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, thinking I would establish myself so well that when it came time to have a family, I wouldn't have so much pressure. And maybe what I did was set myself up for some failure because I set those expectations that I'm always there available and I'm going to get it done. So that was hard to adjust. So I have had to pull back a little bit. But I just have to remember, like, I can't overpromise. So I just have to be honest with people. Like, it's going to take me a day to get back to you on this market analysis or whatever the situation is, or I'm going to have to figure that out for you and do some research. So I've never been afraid to stop and have to, check on something or, just be honest about it. But I will tell you that 12 years ago, I was having Alex, and after I had given birth to him, I'm in the hospital room once again, my second kid, now doing deals and trying to write up an offer for someone. So, that was the reason my dad got his real estate license when I was pregnant with Samuel. He surprised me because he knew I wouldn't take any time off and have any maternity leave.
Yeah.
So he wanted to be able to step in and help me. And so that was awesome. And he does a fabulous job helping me when he can. But it's a struggle, and you just have to know your priorities, and you have to know in your heart, and you have to pray about it, and just know that the decision you're making is the right one for the right reason at that time.
Yeah. Do you feel like clients have been pretty receptive to those boundaries that you've set or those guidelines that you've kind of put into place for yourself?
For the most part, yes. And they know, like, I mean, again, we talk about it quite frequently, and I may say, like, we're in the middle of something, I do have something else, or hey, I'm eating dinner, can I call you back? So I try to just be quick with that communication so they know, like, hey, I hear you, I see you, I acknowledge you, but I'm gonna have to get back to you.
Yeah.
And I've had to put like do not disturb on my phone, like I force myself to not check my phone after a certain time because I have to rest too. Like if I'm not whole, and I'm not going to be able to give to anyone else the way I should. So it's been a little difficult, but I feel like the more I communicate that and the more I remind people, the more they understand too. And sometimes if they're not a good fit, then that's okay. I'll pair them up with someone else. A lot of times too, if they can only look, during this season, like I have games Monday, Tuesday. So I can't, so then I'll have, my dad will step up or I'll refer them to him and he'll pick up those showings or whatever's going on. So just teamwork and just being open and clearly communicating, I think helps.
Yeah. Communication, I think, is the key there, and everything you're talking about. Like, it's unfortunate, but like our profession as a whole, and I don't mean to sound negative, I'm just being realistic here. Like, we're not always respected like they would respect their doctor or their lawyer or their child's teacher, or, for whatever reason, like it seems like there's car salesmen and then there's like real estate agents. And not everybody looks at us as human beings, which sounds crazy, but they expect us to be at their beck and call. They expect us to answer right away when they reach out. Most of the time they're contacting us outside of their normal work hours. And so it's in the evenings. And like you said, the example, and this is what triggered this for me, the example of like, they want you to miss your kid's game, but they don't want to miss their kid's practice. And there's so much truth to that. And I feel like setting boundaries is something that a lot of agents struggle with, and something that we advocate for here is like, we want you to work very hard, but we also want you to be great family people. We want you to show up for your families. We want you to work really hard at your business and really hard at your home life. And if you need to set that phone down and set it aside for a little bit to recharge or to get that quality time, like, I think that's important. And I think it's biblical. Like, that's why we have the Sabbath, right? Is to spend time with the Lord and to recharge and to refuel not just your body, but your soul. And so I don't think many good real estate professionals are great about setting those boundaries. And I think it's something that we need to continue to advocate for, because you can kill yourself working in this business. You can burn out, and you can ruin your marriage, and you can ruin your relationship with your kids, and you can not be at the games. And that's really no way to live at the end of the day. Like, no amount of money is worth that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So have you ever had times over the years where like you just wanted to quit, where you're just like, this is too much. I don't want to run this business and have to try to show up for my kids and be a good wife? And like, have you ever wanted to just throw in the towel?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Several times.
Yeah. And how did you
One
overcome
vacation
that?
we were on, we can work from anywhere, which is great, right? So that's one of the benefits to real estate. And that was pre-COVID, that we could work anywhere we needed to around the world. But one vacation I remember distinctly several years ago, where I was in our house and everybody else is out at the beach the whole time. And I mean, I'm talking like not just 10 minutes here or there, like hours, and turns into a day. And then I'm getting really grumpy and mean to everybody else, all my loved ones that we're on vacation with. And I'm like, this is no more. Like, I can't, so that was definitely a moment. Other times, yeah, when you just want a little time off, and it's not bad. I'm not complaining about my business. I'm so blessed. So I don't want anyone to misconstrue that. But when a lot of people leave their jobs, they can, they're not going to get called. So sometimes it's really, really hard for me to like just start projects at home or to get something done, or to just relax. Sometimes it takes a couple days, when we're on vacation, for me to just finally like decompress enough to where I'm like, okay, I got this. Like, we're going to enjoy vacation. So yeah, those are just some of the moments that happen, and they're fleeting. I mean, I do love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But
well, and I think there's levels to this game, right? Like, if you're a brand new agent, this does not really apply to you. I mean, it does a little bit. Like, you have to keep the train on the tracks at home, but like, you need to be grinding more than normal. You need to be investing more than normal. You need to be more attentive to your clients than other agents would be. And like, there will come a point where you won't be able to provide that same quality of service because of the volume that you're doing. And that's where it's time for us to look at your business and say, okay, how can we help you? How can we offset some of the workloads so that you can continue to scale while keeping your sanity? And like what you were describing, I know, I'm sure, came after years of being in the business and finding much success and figuring out, how do I juggle all of this? And at the point where you've found that success and you've got a good foundation, a good sustainable business, it's a great time to start creating some boundaries for yourself and your family. But if you're a new agent, you don't have the exact same luxury.
No.
So I feel like it's important that we go down that road, because we're not advocating for you guys to take it easy, to take your foot off the gas. Like, there is a period of time where both you and your family will have to make sacrifices in order to get your business up off the ground. But get there first, and then reevaluate, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, my kids went on showings and they went with me several times. So that's also brought them a lot of learning too, which has been kind of fun. Hey, go do this, go open that gate, do whatever I needed them to do. So that's another luxury. Obviously we have to read the room and know who's going to be okay with that situation. And sometimes, like, hey, they're home from school because they're not feeling good. Like, so they're going to be with me, or I try not to reschedule a lot of appointments, but I will say that's one of my favorite parts, or favorite excuses, about hunting time.
Yeah.
I'm in the stand. I don't have any service. Can't talk right now, and I say that jokingly. Obviously that doesn't happen.
I know exactly what you mean.
A year. But I do have a level of relief that I'm like, most of my clients are in the same situation, so I'm probably not going to get many calls that day of opening morning or something like that. So that's nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really great. So personally, it wasn't that long ago you and I talked. Obviously, for everybody listening, they're not going to be privy to our whole conversation, but like, you were kind of going through some stuff, and like, to the point where I was like, Jennifer, you doing all right? Like, are you taking care of yourself? Are you doing these things? Like, I don't want to dive off into like too much of that conversation, but like, I feel like that's something that we all go through at times. And I want you to elaborate on that, like, because you and I had great conversations surrounding just where you were at in life and business, and we hold each other accountable. So will you shed some light onto what that conversation was about and just where you were at mentally at that time?
Yeah. So this has been maybe a struggle year. I'll label it that, on a couple different aspects. So I feel like when things are going really good, we have a tendency to get out of balance at times. Like, we're focusing on all the good of whatever that aspect is in life. And, we can get a flat tire on something else. And I also believe that the devil works really good at knowing our weaknesses and knowing where we've got our foot on probably like more shaky ground, right? I'm a really tough person on myself. I put a lot of pressure on myself probably to perform and just to do really, really good and to meet everyone's expectations. And that can lead to burnout mentally. And as soon as that happens, he's in there, right? He's in my head creating this problem that was probably really, really insignificant, has blown it into like a major situation at that point. And I really attribute that to where I lost time in the Word. And I wasn't participating in Bible studies. One of our groups, the person who was leading it had got to be feeling poorly and had surgery. So I got out of sync, right? Like, my spiritual life. So I was still attending church on a regular basis, still doing my devotions, but I really wasn't taking a lot of time to focus on scripture and studying the Bible in greater depth. And so I just feel like I lost that connection, and it really messed with my mind in a lot of ways. And then I wasn't probably paying as much attention as I should have until I was like already, like snowballing into something bigger. And I was just second guessing myself, doubting myself and every decision I was making. And everything became difficult. Like, what am I going to wear? Should I buy this shirt? Oh my gosh. Like, I don't know. Like, it was the silliest stuff that started to just consume some really weird thoughts. And so I probably just tried to push through. And that's not always good. Like, sometimes we just have to stop, reset, and take a breath. And I finally, realized that. And so with that came some other health concerns this year and just some things that spiraled as a result of that, and just not taking better care of myself spiritually and physically and mentally. And they're all tied together. So that's why, and I know better, right? I know better. I help people. I want to coach them and have them, help them have a better life. And then here I am not practicing what I was preaching at that point. So it just regrounded me, brought me back, to the Lord. And not perfect. I'm a sinner. I'm, going to fail and have faults, but I just have to just keep trying and trust in the Lord. And that's been my biggest message coming out of all of that, is just trusting in the Lord. No, I'm not going to sit on my butt and not do anything. But I can't control every single aspect and facet of my life, nor can I do that for other people either.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the big revelation for me.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And I bring it up because, like, you are one of the most driven people I know, have a resume full of success. You have a beautiful family, a beautiful home in the country. Like you've done really well as far as like societal standards, and I just think that it can happen to anybody, I guess is what I'm getting at. It can happen to anybody where you start to get just pulled off track a little bit and you don't understand it's happening. And then, like, I'm not saying you were doing this, but what I've noticed personally is when that starts to happen to somebody, they look for ways to start pointing the finger, right? And they're wanting to blame external circumstances for things that maybe are within their control. And I think when you start to feel yourself go down that road, and when I say you, not you, but anybody listening, I think you have to plug in with people that are good for you, people that will give you good sound advice, people that will not feed into those negative emotions. Like, you have to be really careful, I feel like, with who you share certain things with, because some people will fuel your negative fire, so to speak. And I think redirection for so many of us, no matter what level of success we've had, redirection in a positive direction is necessary more often than we realize. Like, just that subtle hint of like, hey, you doing okay? Like, you've been kind of negative lately. And you're like, man, I have been kind of negative lately. Like, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Like, I'm going to try to be better. And like you said, when all else fails, the one thing that I think that will change all of that is diving back into the Word. And, we try to talk about it as much as we can on this podcast, but I just think, like, the Word and time in the outdoors and a fruitful life with meaningful relationships, like, they're all so tied together, especially in our business. And so I'm going to always be an advocate for that. And I appreciate you sharing, because I think everybody should know, even somebody as put together as Jennifer Janet can fall off course. And, kudos to you for just kind of getting back with it and hopping back on the horse, so to speak, and kicking butt at life. So
it's hard, and it's hard to share that with other people. If my husband wouldn't have grabbed me at Memorial Day weekend, dropped the kids off and said, hey, boys, get out. Mom and I are going for a country road ride. And after hours, like, of us just listening to old music and talking, and me just finally, like, laying it all out there, like, hey, I'm struggling.
Yeah.
And he knew it. But, like, I think for me to, like, actually admit that is huge. And he had to remind me, like you just said, like, in society's eyes, everything was great. And I'm not taking anything that I have for granted or I'm not appreciative of, because I am. But, he said, like, Jennifer, like, look at the bird's eye view. You're so immersed in, like, what's happening at this moment. But, like, let's fly up here and look at what we've done.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, like, huge to me. Like that conversation still goes through my head like every day almost, like, okay, let's just remember where we're at, because these little things and these little valleys and just occurrences don't really matter at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, no, you're so right. That's amazing that, he had the ability and the desire to kind of grab a hold of you and lead you in that way and support you in that way. And I hope everybody who may be going through something has somebody like that in their life, whether it's a spouse or whether it's a parent, a friend, because you could have just as easily, like I said earlier, fed into like, what's your deal? Like, oh, this is upsetting you? Yeah, screw that guy. Or yeah, forget about those people. And like, we have to be really careful about that. So,
yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to wrap up here pretty soon. I told you getting close to an hour, it'd feel like 5 minutes, but, you are an instructor or a course instructor for the Realtors Land Institute, right?
Yep.
So that's the one thing we didn't talk about really quick. And I wanted you to just talk about like what that's done for you in the business, what that's done for you mentally, getting to connect with other real estate professionals. And, if you feel like that's been all good and fun, or if there's been some hurdles, that you've had to overcome with that, what's that been like?
So I've so much enjoyed being a teacher for the Realtors Land Institute. That might sound kind of corny, but I think everyone who knows me knows that like my passion is to help others. And even early in my career, I wanted to figure out how I could teach other realtors the business and help them grow. And I think it's been an amazing opportunity to talk about something I'm so passionate about, but just to help people get started, because we all got started at some point, right? And then just trying to feed off of everyone else's energy. Because when I'm instructing these courses, it's anyone from, hey, I've been licensed for a month to, 27 years later, I'm now working on this and I didn't even know it existed. So I think that's been just a really great joy for me. And I get to make so many connections. So I get to see people, start their journey with the education and then finish and become an actual ALC. So that's just a phenomenal sight, right? And then every class I feel like is so just closely connected that I love to see other people love it as much as I do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one of my favorite, I don't want to say like, how do I want to say that? Indirect, prize for me. The hurdle probably initially was like, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough to do this. I'm not good enough to teach this. I'm not going to know everything because someone else is going to be more skilled in equestrian properties or wherever or whatever it is. But that's really not the case. Like, I'm here to just facilitate and have everyone share their knowledge base to help everyone grow. And real estate is such a competitive business, especially in residential. So one of my favorite things about the Realtors Land Institute is that we're really all here to help each other. If I have a situation that I need assistance on, I can pick up the phone and call a lot of people that I know and try to get some advice or have them walk me through it. So that just is an amazing thing to witness as well. And we're not sitting in a room where no one wants to talk or share any tips. And I try to make it interactive. So I'm here to give, the foundation, but if this particular group needs something more in this area, then we're going to move that focus and we're going to make sure we cover that. So it's just been a wonderful opportunity for me. And I am so forever thankful and blessed that I took the little nudge that I had been given and applied and, was approved to be an instructor for them. Yeah,
that's amazing. So to paraphrase our entire conversation today, here you have a gal who's a go-getter, has an incredible foundation in the residential real estate business, is making waves in the land business, instructing land brokers across the country. You're a great family-oriented person, great wife, great mother, great daughter. You work hard. You've got your own farm or ranch. And what's not to love about Jennifer Janet, guys? I mean,
thank you.
No, really, like I'm excited to have you on board with us in some capacity there in Illinois, and really excited to see where this business takes you, because I think the sky's the limit for you and it's going to be great. And so with all of that being said, normally I would wrap up the podcast with a question about why you're tied to the land, but I think we've covered that pretty well. So mine's going to be a little bit different of a question for you. What would you say to, let's just say, a young lady in her 20s, mid-20s, who's trying to trust in God's plan for her life right now? Maybe trying to build a career, trying to find a husband, trying to build a family. Like, you have been through all of that and you have excelled through it all. So, like, what would your advice to that person be?
Be confident in the Lord. Trust in his plan and try not to manipulate or control it. I think that's where people get into trouble. And really at that point, you're not trusting and your faith is not as strong as it was. So do the work, do your research, surround yourself with people that are super supportive, but also that are positive and want to support you. Because if they're not looking to support you and they're not Christ-minded, they can pull you off a track really fast. And it's happened to me, and it happens and you don't even realize it's happening, you know? So I feel like you have to make sure that you are setting yourself up, staying close and not worrying so much about what everybody else thinks. Everyone is going to have an opinion, but know whose opinion at the end of the day is the most important. And that's our Lord and Savior. And he's going to bring the right people into your life to support you and to help you like satisfy and reach his plans.
I love that. I love that. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap it up. Jennifer, thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation today. I told you this wouldn't be as scary as you thought it would be. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how can they do so? Are you on social media?
Yep. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. You can find me there.
Awesome. She's also on the Arrowhead Land Company website.
Yes.
Her cell phone's on there. So Jennifer would love to help you guys, I'm sure. So reach out to her. Enjoy your son's birthday today. It's going to be a great day. We appreciate you.
Okay. Thanks, Andrew.
All right. Thanks. Take care.
Okay. Take care.